Howdy, this is your friendly neighborhood physics teacher here. Today we're going to talk about manipulating formulas and then give you time to actually fill out in your chicken duck, in your notebook, all the different formulas. So I'm actually going to make my little video disappear because I'm going to be like leaning over writing and you just don't need to see this lovely double chin of mine. So I'm going to make me disappear. Gone. So I'm just a voice. I'm your conscience. Don't go into the light. Okay, sorry. I promise. I'm just a little loopy this morning. It works. So manipulating formulas. We'll be doing that a lot in physics. So first thing we're going to look at is just a simple formula that's just being straight multiplied. So we're going to hop over here. So we have PE, which is potential energy, by the way, equals mass times acceleration due to gravity times height. You'll do a little matching game on the Nearpod right after this, throughout the Nearpod to figure out what the name of the variables and the units and the unit names to go along with it, and you'll write that in your notebook. But first, we know how to manipulate, and that one said it wanted to solve for y. So that means solving for y means you want to get y by itself. That means you need to get everything else on the other side. So it's being multiplied. What's the opposite of multiply? I think I heard someone say divide. Did I hear someone say divide? I think I heard someone say divide. So we're going to divide. We can go ahead and divide both m and acceleration due to gravity. We can just kind of, because they're both being multiplied, we can attach them, so we're dividing them. And what we do to one side, we have to do the other. That's a mathematical rule. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. So an m divided by an m gives you 1, so that cancels out. A g divided by g gives you 1, so that cancels out. So we are left with PE divided by mg, which equals y. There you go. You solve for y. Hot diggity dog. Woohoo! We got this, right? We got this. So let's look at another example. Let's hop over here. So another example is we have KE equals 1/2 times m times v, and that's supposed to be squared. It wasn't letting me do a caret. It wasn't letting me raise it up, so I did a little caret. So we will continue here. So we'll pick another color. So KE, ooh, that's thick. KE, that's your kinetic energy, equals 1/2 times mass times velocity squared. And we're looking for our velocity. So again, that means we need to get velocity by itself. And honestly, it's just velocity by itself. It's just velocity by itself. We don't want that squared. We just want the velocity. So let's focus on getting the v squared by itself. So what's the opposite of 1/2? Hopefully you said 2. So we can go ahead and multiply both sides by 2. And the reason I knew it was 2, because think about it. If we do 1/2 times 2, that's just 1, that's just 1 over 1. So you get 2 over 2 in that case, which gives you 1. So we're just wanting it to cancel out. That's the whole point. So that cancels out, and we're left with 2. Oh, I didn't mean to grab a different color. There is. Who's this one, right? 2KE equals mv squared. We still need that v by itself, so we need to do something with the m. The m's being multiplied. Again, the opposite of multiply is divide. And what you do to one side, you gotta do the other. And m over m just gives you a 1. And so you get 2KE over m equals v squared. Now here comes the tricky part. What's the opposite of a square? Hopefully you said square root. You're right. And again, what you do to one side, you gotta do the other. So that square root and that square cancels out. So we are officially left with the square root of 2ke over m equals v. So we got v by itself. Because even though when we got to the v squared, v was not by itself. It still had a mathematical property on it. When it's asking for to solve for this, it wants everything out of the way. Okay, yeah. Anyway. So let's do another one. So this one is a motion. So it's your Vf equals Vi plus A times T. So we're going to go back over here. Those I's and V's really should be like Vi, should be a sub, but again, Nearpod wasn't allowing me to do any of that because it's a descriptor. That's your initial velocity, that's your final velocity. That's all it is, it's little descriptors times T. And we're trying to get acceleration by itself. We want this puppy by itself. Now, we don't necessarily want to mess with the t just quite yet, because if we divide it by t, we would have to divide that by t, we'd have to divide everything, each little section by t. So if there's a plus or a minus separating the two sections, you want to look at the other section first. So we want to bring this VF over to the other side. There is a tiny little plus there. That is a positive number. So what's the opposite of that? Oh, they said negative. So we're going to minus VF. That cancels. So we're left with VI minus VF equals AT. Now we can divide by the t. What we do to one side, we gotta do the other. That t divides, and we're left with VI, whoop, not a plus, no, bad, minus VF over t equals A. There we go. Now, let's say you wanted to, you're like, but what happens if we do divide by first? You can. You can divide by first. We still want A by itself. So let's say we did divide everything by t first. But you'd have to divide that section by t, you would have to divide that section by t, and you'd have to divide that section by t. You have to divide each part by t, because it's a different part because it's separated by a plus sign. So that cancels out, and you're left with Vi over t equals Vf over t. And I just realized this whole entire time, see, teachers make mistakes too. You're still going to get the same exact. I'm just correcting for the formula aspect. The I's and the F's, technically, for the formula, should be flipped. Hi. Humbug. The math is still the same. Everything else is just the same. Just for physics, it's final equals initial. Oof, sorry about that. I was like, that's not looking right. Plus A. So that's how that formula would look like. So then you take your VI divided by t, and again, remember there's a little tiny plus sign. So we're going to subtract our VI over t to both sides. That whole entire thing cancels out. And we're left with Vf over t minus Vi over t equaling A. And since these are like terms on the bottom, just like here, you can combine them. So you get Vf minus Vi over t equals A. And you get the exact same answer. So you can do it two different ways. Just know that if you do it this way, you have to do it to each little part. I tend to not do that just so I don't forget anything. I tend to deal with a different section, move it over. So the first way is the way I tend to do it. But again, there's different ways to do things. And I wanted to show you that. And still get the correct answer. So what's another practice problem we can do? Ooh, this big formula. That's a big formula. Let's see if we can do it. So this is a force of gravity equals your gravitational constant times mass 1 times mass 2 over the distance between the two center masses squared. And we are looking for this R. Never, ever, ever, never leave what you're looking for on the bottom. Never, ever, 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 ever do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and multiply both sides by r squared. Because you see, all this is multiplying divides. We don't have to worry about an add or subtract type thing. So we're going to go ahead and move r squared over. The reason we're doing that, you're like, but we're just moving what we're looking for over. The reason we're doing that is to get it out of the denominator. We do not want it at the bottom, because that cancels out, and we're left with r squared fg equals g m1 m2. Everything's on the same playing field now. So now that's being multiplied. The opposite of multiply is divide. What you do to one side, you got to do the other. That causes that to cancel out. And you have an r squared equals g m1 m2 divided by fg. But we're not done. We just want r. There's still a little pesky little squared there. How do you get rid of the squared? Square root. And that means you got to square root everything, not just the top part. Everything. So our answer becomes r equals square root of g m1 m2 over fg. And that is everything. You don't have to put the parentheses there. I'm just saying everything. So now what I would like for you to do is do a little practice problems on the next slide over in the Nearpod and see if you understand it. If you don't, please message me or Miss Verona, and we'll gladly help you. Hopefully you have a wonderful day. Bye.